All right, I got a special for you. Let's talk about Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell is the Fed, the head of the Fed. He has a lever on his hands that he's able to move up or move down. And that controls the whole country, the whole economy of the United States. Let me explain. During the COVID, right, 2019 to 2022, I would say, since COVID has ended, he made the interest rate zero, right? When you have interest rate is zero, when you have interest rate zero, anybody can borrow money very easily. Money was widely available, and during the COVID crash, when the news came out, everybody sold their stocks because they're afraid that the whole country might go under. Well, let me open up the SPY charts, right? So a few years ago, during the COVID crash 2019 here, so somewhere here, right, the stock market totally crashed, went all the way down here, and Jerome Powell stepped in and say, hey, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to lower the interest rate to zero, so anybody who needs money can get money, and that's when the government started printing money to hand it out to everybody. And a lot of companies took advantage of that. They used that money, and then they went and invested in their own business and bought back their own stocks in multiple cases. And then a ton of shit companies, the companies that are, even though they're public, they still shit. And they pumped their stock up, all the way up. So that's when you see this crazy run here. All the way from bottom, all the way went up. So it's like a bandage for the problem. And companies, even shit companies got crazy valuations. That's why you see a lot of crazy stock hypes. Meme stocks, any stock, like pretty much you pick anything in the market, you're gonna go up. So a lot of companies try to IPO as well during that time because they're like, hey, everybody's on this stock frenzy. They all have a ton of money on hand, so let's go public at this time because our stock will go high and then we can sell it and make a lot of money. So that's what happened. We went on this crazy run all the way up to from SPY from 228 to 467, like it doubled in that time period, right? And where we are today is that it actually started to calm down. So why did it start to drop down? Well, because this guy, Jerome Powell, he's like, okay, we printed too much money. Now we got a lot of inflation on our hand. The reason we have inflation is people have too much money and they can buy too many things. And then, we also have this problem with the supply chain. So we have low supply. We got low supply of food and goods, but we have high supply of money. So now that's how you create inflation because everybody have money, they want to spend. So they're willing to go spend more money on these things. Now Jerome Powell realized that, oh shit, we messed up. Now we need to combat inflation. So let's pull the lever up more. So we're going to raise the interest rates. So in 1 year, they raised the interest rate from zero all the way up to about 4.5% today. And as a result, stocks went down a lot like this because now this is why I want to talk about in this video is that what's the consequence of him doing that in such a short amount of time? You probably heard about Silicon Valley Bank. That's one consequence of that action. So let's talk about what can we do today, 2023. How do we save our money? So what do we do? The first thing you probably want to say, hey, why don't we just keep my money in cash? I have no problem. Just put my money in under my house somewhere. Put it in the shelf somewhere and just put it in my fridge or something. Well, the problem is we got inflation. The problem is inflation. We have about 7 or 8% inflation right now in the country. So that means if you have 100K of cash, you can only use about 93K by the year end because the price of everything went up. So your buying power is eroded. So you can't really hold everything in cash because that's dangerous. You just lose 7K doing nothing. So I probably wouldn't want to go that route. So what do we do next? Real estate maybe? Well, real estate during the pandemic, it went up insanely high, right? It went crazy high. So if you're buying any real estate during that time or a year ago, you're probably at a loss right now because the price of housing market has dropped tremendously as the interest rate went up. So do you really want to buy real estate right now? And the price of real estate is still kind of high compared to pre-pandemic, but there's also, price high, still relatively high, and interest rate is high. This is way higher than before pandemic. So before pandemic, the interest rate was for mortgages, right, was about like 4%-ish, 4 or 5%-ish. But now the interest rate is about 6 or 7%. So you're paying way more a month just in interest if you're borrowing to buy real estate. So that's kind of out of the question right now. So what do? Maybe you put money in treasury bonds. Well, in treasury bonds, you have options. I think treasury bond might be the best bet right now. So you get short and long-term treasury bonds. So you can do both, right? So short term you get less money, less return, but long-term treasury you get way more money. But there's a risk in that. There's two risks. One is you're locked up, right? That money is locked up. So you have cash, you have no liquid. That's exactly the problem with Silicon Valley Bank. Your money is locked up. You cannot use that money until the time has expired in those treasuries. So if you, let's say, you're getting a car accident, you got a crazy medical bill, all of a sudden you got to pay, you can't get this money out. So if you have 100K, most of your money in treasury bonds, that's the downside. And there's also another downside, is that the interest rate will keep going up. Interest rate will keep going up. So if you lock in today for, let's say, like 5%, right? Then next month, Jerome Powell decides to raise more interest rate to like 8% in a year, right? Then your 5% just lost like 3% of potential gains compared to just holding it on to cash and wait for the bonds, the interest rate to go higher, right? So there's also risk in that. So what's next? CDs. Well, CDs is just like I would say CDs are like a middleman between a bank and the treasury. The bank probably take your money and invest in treasury bonds. The CDs, they're lower rates than treasuries, but they offer, super short-term CDs. Some banks even offer non-penalty CDs, meaning you can just take the money out, no penalties. Otherwise, you have to pay penalties, right? You have to pay penalties if you want to take the money out fast. So CDs do offer higher rates than regular bank interest, but you have to lock your money in for a long time. Otherwise, you have to pay penalties. Usually the penalties will eat away all of your interest and the bank take them away. So think about that. So what do? Stocks? Okay, well, what did I say earlier? Stocks are beginning to slower down. Reason is when the interest rate for Jerome Powell goes up, people tend to pull money out of stocks and put the money in interest rates before. Because think about it, the historical average return for SPY it's about 7%. So this comes with a ton of risk, right? So if you buy the stocks right here, you probably lost a ton of money down here. So this is why stock is volatile. It's usually good for long term if you're in it, but for short term, you're pretty much screwed if you bought at the top. And when the interest rate is high, why would I want to risk my money in the stock market when I can get it in treasury bonds for guaranteed return of 5 or 6%? And that's why people are they're selling their money out. They sell stocks to get into treasuries because you can get risk-free returns compared to high risk inside of stocks. So that's why stock market it's being halted. It's not going up. It's going sideways, but I bet it's going to go down in the long term because more money, people are going to pull out their money and put it in treasuries. So you think, oh, maybe crypto. Well, I don't even want to talk about crypto. Crypto has been following the stocks rates for the stock market for a while now, and you can watch if you watch my channel, how many rug pulls are there in crypto. Cryptos are high risk, but they're high reward as well. So you can get money for sure, but then what's going to happen? We talk about it. Crypto are somehow linked to the traditional banking industry as well. So you're pretty much in double the risk. And on top of that, you got all these rug pulls going on in DeFi. So what do you say? Maybe put my money in index. So yeah, you can put money in, SPY index, which is like hundreds of companies combined together into a single stock. You could do that, you put it in index, but indexes are pretty much has the same risk, or the stocks that I'm talking about. Indexes in the short term can go down, like the SPY here, because they follow a lot of stocks today. Like most of the stock trading today is based on machines, algos. So if they detect that, hey, Jerome Powell is going to raise the rates, they're going to sell all these stocks in order to get into bonds or treasury bonds. So there's risk there, but I think indexes are the safest over individual stocks. Over long term, they're probably going to do well. But if you're looking for a short-term solution, I don't know if that would be a safer solution than treasury bonds. And then lastly, I think the best investment right now is probably in IKEA hot dogs. Because if you buy like millions of IKEA hot dogs with your money, let's say 100,000, you're probably going to be safe because they have been in the same price forever. I think recently they raised it to $1.50. It used to be $1. So if you bought like 100,000 IKEA hot dogs for $1 each, you actually make 50,000 right now if they raise the price up to 50 cents. The only problem is, how would you store the hot dogs and where do you find buyers? So there's always downside to that. So with that said, that's my analysis on what to do with your money. Which one are you going to do? I would like to know. Let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you like this kind of video. I'll do more of the analysis like that. So thank you guys. I hope to see you guys in the next one.